Hey everyone, it's Andre Luck. One thing I want to start doing more of is documenting a lot of things through video, and then sharing that content in different distribution channels on YouTube, LinkedIn, other social media channels. And today's Thursday, May 16th. So 3 days after my last day with the Miami Marlins. One thing I wanted to do while I was still fresh was just think through my career through sports and kind of tell that story, that journey, and then also kind of look forward to what's next. And I think this is really relevant and could be of value to someone looking to get into sports, obviously, someone who's in sports. But I think there's a lot of things that I'll hit on that maybe are more overarching, just business rules, principles, um, good advice as someone's going throughout their career. So I'll jump into it. And this story is one that I typically told as we'd have like an inside sales interview day, and more from as the head of the department, wanted people to see, all right, what's this guy all about? If they're gonna potentially move across the country and come work for my sales team, the first question they're gonna get when they get out of their interview is from their parents and be like, all right, what are they about? Who's this guy, or who's this gal you're gonna go work for? So I want to be very transparent up front. Here's my background. Here's what I'm about. Here's the values I believe in and what I instill, but also to give a path of like what it looks like. I remember starting out, like I just wanted to get a job in sports. I didn't know necessarily like where is that ultimately going to take me, and like what does that look like. So I'll share that, and also just being a father now, like those are questions that I'm going to want to ask, so I know someone else's parents are going to want to know the same thing. So just quick backstory, military brat, oldest of three. I grew up moving around a bunch, but when my dad got out of the Air Force when I was 11, we lived in Chandler, Arizona, so right outside of Phoenix, a suburb. And that year was 1996. That was the year the Arizona State made the Rose Bowl, and from that day I was hooked. I knew that that was the school I wanted to go to, blood maroon and gold. So after high school, stayed close, went down the street to Tempe to go to Arizona State. So I spent 4 years there, so that was 2003 to 2007. Got my business management degree. In my last semester of college, I really started honing in and looking at what do I want to do. My parents always just said, go to school and get a job. Like that's all we were raised and grew up to know, is that you go to school and you get a job. I always had this passion for sports, and not just playing it. I played a bunch of sports growing up, but really honed in on baseball as I got into middle school and high school. But also understanding like the inner workings of it and like the business side of it. And most of my growing up, all I knew was there's the guy outside selling tickets on the street, because that's what my dad would do, and buy tickets from them, not go to the box office or call in. Like he was always trying to get a deal. And then like the people you'd meet like at the concession stand, or the ushers that let you down, like it never crossed my mind that there's this whole area of the business, just like any other corporation or company, that is running the business side of it. You knew about the GM, you knew about the players and the drafts and the trades. And so I think a lot of people, when they're in college and they're looking to get into sports, are looking at that. They want to be a GM one day. They want to be a team president one day. And I really give kudos to a lot of the sports management, sports administration programs out there now, where they're not just telling you about the player side. They're really teaching those things that are going to be applicable to students as they come out into their professional career. And there's ticket sales classes now, which is where a lot of the jobs are. They learn about marketing, they learn about PR and communications. Like these kids are coming into the professional world now at such a step ahead than a lot of us were in the early 2000s, or even before that when we were getting into sports. So I got a really cool opportunity. It was to work in the Arizona State Athletic Department. The guy that ran the sales team there for ticket sales was a guy by the name of Mike Boswell. And it was really interesting how it all came about, and it's just crazy. I'm a big believer in my faith, and things happen for a reason. So I'll share a quick story there. The day I was supposed to go to this informational session, my younger brother Josh, he played football at Northern Arizona University. He was a freshman that year. He walked on and eventually got on scholarship, and he was winning an award for Newcomer of the Year. And so my family were all excited. So Flagstaff's about 2 hours from Phoenix, And my parents were like, well, you can't go to the informational session. Like, Josh is winning his award today. And I was like, maybe I can try and negotiate it to try and go to part of it so we can get on the road and, head up to Flagstaff so we didn't miss that because it was a big moment for him. And I had to leave early. I got asked some tough questions that I wasn't prepared for, so that was probably my first lesson. Like, don't just walk into an interview blind. I think I had said, I love watching sports. Like, I play it. I'm just a big fan, and he kicked it back at me as to why I wanted to work there. He's like, well, we don't just kick our feet up and watch ESPN all day. So he gave me another chance to answer the question. I think I answered it decently well, and but I did have to leave early. And in the back of my head, I'm like, man, did that ruin that opportunity? But I was like, I don't care. Like, I'm not missing this. But I felt bad because we hit a lot of traffic on the way up there. It was January, so it snows up there in Flagstaff. So there was really bad rain, and like there was tons of traffic, so we were going to be hours late. But fortunately, Northern Arizona, a lot of the players on the team, they're originally from Phoenix, so a lot of the same parents were having trouble getting up there, so they delayed it. Got there just in time. We got to hear his speech, accept the award. Super cool. And then coming back from that, got an opportunity to join the athletic department at Arizona State University and start selling tickets. So it all worked out. I ended up getting to go to this informational session, get the job, still get to be there for my brother. It was super awesome. I was bad when I first started. I I was one of the last people to make a sale out of my group. It was really cool because like when you make a sale, and this is my first time like in any type of sales environment. I did part-time jobs through college, but nothing like business related. And so they had a sales board, and they had a little bell that you dinged when you made a sale. And so I sat there. I probably started in February 2007, and we're going through February into March. Hadn't made a sale. I remember I made my first sale in April. I don't know why I remember that, but like I remember I finally got commission. I was earning like $5 an hour and some like little commission for every sale, but I felt rich at the time. And it was from that moment on, like I was hooked. I remember I was going through my script, I was going through my pitch, and we had like a set script that we had to stick to. Like Boz was really set on, this is what you say when they give you this objection, this is how you respond. And it was really good for me because I needed that structure. I needed that kind of roadmap of like, here's what you're supposed to say. And so I'm just going through, I'm like, all right, everyone's telling me no. Everyone's telling me no. Typically when I ask, like, all right, do you want to join the Arizona State football family? Most people are like, no, I'm good. Or I'll let you know when I need tickets. And I remember it vividly. The lady on the other end of the phone, she's like, yeah, let's do it. And I froze. I was like, what do I do? Like, I've never made a sale. I'm like fumbling. Like, I blacked out. I'm calling my supervisor over, and he's like, all right, we got this. And so that was my first sale, but from then I was hooked. Like, the little commission was cool too. It's like, wow, like you can really see the value and get paid for it right there in the moment. And I thought that was cool working in sales, specifically in sports, because it was something I was passionate about. We were in this little basement in Wells Fargo Arena, a basketball arena, and like we had these like kind of old Arizona State chairs, but like I didn't care. Like I was, steps away from like one of the locker rooms. You could walk down on the basketball court there. Like this was the behind the scenes stuff that a lot of people don't get to see. So, I took that opportunity just to really dive in and learn. And so I learned how to be, a decent ticket seller, the opportunity to take a career past, past just selling it, part-time for the athletic department, was available to us because through the relationships our boss had, as we graduate, he'd get us connected with, professional sports teams. And I remember he's like, all right, keep working hard. If the right opportunity comes, where do you want to go? What part of the country? And I remember talking to one of my friends. We had like a select a seat for men's basketball. We went out to go get pizza somewhere down the street from the arena. I'm like, man, this dude's full of it. Like, I've graduated now, so this is like October, maybe September. It was September. And so I've worked through the summer. I'm like, he said he'd get us jobs, if we did well and get us connected. And I think that next week he called me in his office. He's like, hey, Andre, great news. The Arizona Diamondbacks are hiring. I was like, oh, cool. But I felt like a jerk because I was just the weekend before like, there's no opportunities there. And I got to go to this big job fair that the Diamondbacks were having. It was 2007. So that was the year they made the NLCS. So there was a ton of excitement for the team. But really, what they were looking to do as an organization was to really build up the business side. They had started in the late '90s. I remember I grew up there, so I used to go to a lot of games in 1998 and on. And they won a World Series very soon after in 2001. But from there, like their proactive sales efforts kind of dwindled, and they really needed to bring in an executive team with a proactive mindset to really go and get after it. So I got brought in as part of their very first inside sales class. I had no clue what inside sales was. There were a bunch of roles they were hiring for. There was account executives with group sales, season ticket sales, premium sales. I think I said I was interested or I'd be a best fit for premium sales because I had sold a little bit of tickets that I sold at Arizona State. Now looking back, that's silly to think that because that came with people with years of experience in ticket sales professionally. But that was the best thing for me, was to start in inside sales. And I tell anybody that I wouldn't have gotten to where I am today if I didn't go through inside sales in general, but a really good inside sales program. So I really hit that home in the message with these students who are looking to step into a career in inside sales, because that is so crucial to your your career trajectory, getting that foundation laid, the relationships you forge and build. And so the person that was kind of hiring our group was a guy by the name of Jeremy Walls. He's now Chief Operating Officer for the Arizona Cardinals. A lot of stops from his time at the D-backs in high-level positions. And he was our director of group sales and inside sales at the time. And he had hired a group of us, like 10, I want to say. We hired another 10 later, so we had a group of 20 once we were fully staffed. But the other person that he hired was probably the most impactful relationship I've met in my professional career, and definitely one of the most impactful in my life. A guy by the name of Jason Howard. He was at the time the inside sales manager for the Indiana Pacers. He and his wife were moving down to Arizona to come join the D-backs, and I was like, all right, cool. Like, I got this guy that's coming in to manage me. He's worked in the NBA. That sounds really cool. I just want to come work for the D-backs. I don't want to make friends. I just want to come in, do my work, and, grow my career. That was my mindset when I came in. And it's just funny looking back, because there's still people, actually two of my inside sales buddies texting me, this week, just checking in. And like the relationships you build there are so huge, and like you never know what that's going to lead to. Now I look back, what's that, 17 years now? So many relationships I forged, and that all started from inside sales. And the leadership group that was there, a lot of them have gone on to be, C-level executives within sports, senior vice presidents, high-level positions on the sales side of sports. And like I said, that was a team down the street that was hiring, and I thought it'd be cool to work for the local baseball team. But Jason was huge, because he was the first boss in my professional career, and he really laid the groundwork on like developing us as people. I joke that I don't really think I learned a ton of ticket sales training from him, but just learning about myself as an adult, as a man, as a future husband and father. It was huge, and I'd stay late and just pick his brain. Like, he was like the coolest manager I thought that was out there, and I just I wanted to aspire to be him. And I knew very quickly in my time in inside sales, I'm like, that is the role I want to do one day. Like, as I move up through my career, I want to be an inside sales manager. So I spent about 10 months in inside sales. Similar situation where I had my foot in my mouth. I was second on the board in sales, and looking to get promoted to be an account executive on the season ticket sales team. And same thing, I was talking to some people. I was like, man, like, they keep saying they're gonna make an opportunity for us, and there's going to be an opportunity to grow. It's just a theme in my career. It's just like, shut up and just be present where your feet are. And then that was like on like a Wednesday or Thursday, and then that Friday he called me in and he's like, hey, exciting news, we're bumping you up to account executive of season ticket sales. So I did that for another 4 seasons. My last maybe 4 or 5 months there, I was in a senior account executive role, and really got to learn the leadership side of it, and that was a place I wanted to aspire to go throughout my career. I'll pause real quickly from the professional side to the personal side. My last year with the D-backs, I met my now wife, at the time girlfriend, Brittany. She came to join the Arizona Diamondbacks. She grew up in South Florida. A big part of why we ended up here in Miami. Went to Florida State and got an opportunity to work for the Arizona Diamondbacks at the spring training facility, and then eventually came on to be full time on the inside sales team. And we started dating then, and eventually got married, had our 3 kids. So I always want to make sure I call that out. It typically doesn't work from what I've seen, where there's interdepartmental relationships in sports. I guess we're one of the exceptions, but yeah, I definitely want to pause there. So after my almost 5 seasons with the D-backs, I got a really cool opportunity to go right down the street back to Arizona State, working for a company called the Aspire Group. And that was my first chance to manage a sales team. So there was a team of about 20 individuals, new sales focused on football, men's basketball, baseball, like all the sports in the athletic department. And that was, September of 2012, I took that opportunity. Wasn't there long. I had plans and aspirations to, continue to build and grow there. But I had mentioned Jason earlier. Right before I left the D-backs, maybe 4 or 5 months, he had gone on to the Houston Astros to be their VP of ticket sales. And he had an opportunity to bring me in as an inside sales manager around April of 2013. So I'd been at Arizona State almost 7 months. Really tough decision because I'm super loyal, and I didn't want to leave, but there was something telling me, this is the opportunity for you. Although by title it's lateral, this is going to be something that you definitely need to take a look into. And my wife, my girlfriend at the time, she knew Jason really well from the time of the D-back. She's like, you got to take that. And so I get the role. She quits her job at the time. She's working for Yelp. Becomes a teacher in Houston. I go be the inside sales manager in Houston. I spent 7 seasons with the Astros, starting inside sales manager for 3 seasons and director of season ticket sales for 4. Really cool experience. At the time, there was a joke that the Astros were the Lastros because we were the worst team in baseball. And I really got to see what it was like. I saw as a rep standpoint at the D-backs what it looked like to build out a ticket sales team, at the rep level, but to do it and actually be involved at the leadership level. When I came in as an inside sales manager, you're typically the most junior of your leadership team. We had such a strong group of leaders that Jason hired on season ticket services, group sales, premium sales, season ticket sales. Like, I got to work with, and kudos to them because they really involved and included me as a young, immature, at times leader in a lot of big level discussions. So I really learned to grow, obviously under Jason, but another one of my mentors, PJ Keene, he was my direct report for the 7 seasons I was there. And just as much as, he shaped me as a leader, definitely as a man, in my faith, we had a lot of conversations around that as well. And definitely indebted to those two for taking the chance on me to help build out what they're building in Houston. But also prep me for leadership and help me grow up as a leader. Really honing in on having difficult conversations, making tough decisions in the hiring process, really honing in on my skills as a teacher, trainer, coach, and like driving revenue, like all the stuff on development and personal growth. That's great. We did book clubs every Monday, but first and foremost, they kind of reset my framework of like, this is a revenue generating department. Yes, you are developing people early in their career, but they need to learn how to sell. So it was a really cool experience, and it was cool because I got to see people that started out in their interview day, watch them perform in inside sales, watch them get promoted to be account executives, and eventually go on through their career. And some are managers and directors now, even some vice presidents in sports, which is really cool to see. So in 2015, at the end of the 2015 season, going into 2016, I got promoted to be director of season ticket sales. And that was probably one of the first times I faced like real adversity as a leader. And really in my career, most of the years through my career, I hit my goal. I had success. It was always one of the top performers. And we had set a really high target in 2016 because we had made the playoffs in 2015 for the first time in a long time, that we just missed it on the season ticket sales side. And like, I really learned like, I can't just look at spreadsheets and like figure out, what are our conversion rates, and those things are all important. Like, I remember reading a John Wooden book. I'm going to butcher the quote, but it talked a lot about the championships he won at UCLA was really a byproduct of him just being the best coach, leader, teacher he could be. And when I read that, I was like, wow, like I'm so dug into my office and these spreadsheets and like, trying to figure out like why isn't the number moving? And it's like I just need to get out there with the staff. Just need to have conversations. What's going on? What are you hearing? Like let's do some coaching sessions. Let's listen to some phone calls. And like that really shaped and changed my perspective as a leader and more of a coach and teacher versus just director architecting the strategy and like these are the leads and the campaigns that we're doing. Like you got to bring it to the personal level with the staff too. And I saw my ability to connect with the team grow. It got me more ingrained in their day-to-day sales process and really helped me for those next few years and put us in a really good spot in 2016 going into the 2017 season because that was the year we won the World Series. So we had always talked about as the team gets good, we're going to make tough decisions. We're going to, build relationships in market and be set up to capitalize when things turn. And we did that. Like 2017 came, we won the World Series. We set, MLB records when it came to new season ticket sales. I mean, part of that was just the market and the fan base is diehard, sports fans, 60 plus years traditions with the Astros. So once they won, like all these fans, just kind of came back. But I also feel we were primed and ready to capitalize too, from a strategy standpoint, from organization, departmental setup, and then having the sales processes ready to go to capitalize to retain the business, but then also grow that as well. The next few years, continue to make the playoffs. Get to the World Series again in 2019, losing Game 7. But it was really cool to see what it looks like on the other side because most throughout my career, you're selling losing teams, losing products, trying to really just mitigate your losses and trying to control what you can control is what we talk about a lot. But to see what it's like when you win, that comes with its own set of challenges. There's definitely some things that change in the mindset as leaders and reps. Some people get complacent. There's entitlement. Things that maybe you weren't expecting on your way up as you were kind of scrappy and scraping and clawing to get there that now there's even more expectations. Now the bar gets set even higher and you just gave everything you did for those 4 or 5 years, some even longer to get to this point. Some people just want to be like, finally made it. And if anything, like now the expectations really crank up, but I kind of knew that was business. So for me, like that excited me. It's like, all right, how far can we take this? How high can we get in season ticket sales? Like, can I sell myself out of a job, right? And we were getting close to there, my last season there. And so at this point, Brittany and I were married. We live in Houston. My family's in Arizona. Her family's in South Florida. I have 2 kids. And, we're really thinking about what's the next step in our life. We had 2 daughters. She really wanted to get back to Florida. We kind of said, like, if there's one team that makes sense for us to join and go to, be the Miami Marlins. Most people probably wouldn't have picked that as like, all right, that's the premier destination to go to. But for me, I was super pumped early in the tenure of new ownership, which came in like 2017. I really closely followed that group and Derek Jeter specifically, first black CEO in baseball. Obviously there's the accolades on the baseball side of me being a huge baseball fan, though I was not ever a Yankees fan. Always appreciated the way he went about his business, and I was like, yeah, that's definitely a person that I'd want to connect with and at some point get to work with in my career. And really got to learn parts of the organization. Actually had applied for a role in 2018, didn't get it, a senior director role, but the vice president role came about at the end of the 2019 season. So had reached out, I had made some relationships within the organization and got hired to be their vice president of ticket sales in January of 2020. And it was a really cool experience. Like I said, getting to work under Derek and Adam Jones, who was our chief revenue officer at the time, brought me in and got to work with another situation where I'm coming in as a young leader amongst a talented group of individuals who've performed at a high level in sports, out of sports, and getting to just soak that in on a day-to-day basis was huge for me. very quickly in my time there. Obviously, a lot of people know 2020, the pandemic happens in March, so all the things we were kind of building for that season gets put on pause, and like I really had to tap into my ability to connect with people and build relationships because I was still trying to, understand what the staff is, where are opportunities to grow, who do we have, what are, spots that we potentially need to fill, and just had to really lock in and like, check in on people from a mental well-being standpoint, try and build plans, but things were changing on a week by week basis of like, how long is this going to last? Like, what does that mean for our business? What does that mean for our staff? And fortunately, I had a good group that I inherited when I first got to the Marlins, and then we were able to build and add to that with the right type of people. It was something I was very intentional about, whether it was leaders or who those leaders hired underneath them. Like, I wanted to make sure the environment and the culture was uplifting, was inspiring. We were bought into the bigger vision, bigger purpose for what we're doing. You can make more money doing something else, but let's all lock in and build something special here in Miami. So 2021, reduced capacity seating. So slowly move into, but kind of get back to what I know a little bit of, like selling tickets, because for the longest time I couldn't. It was just, making sure that people still wanted to keep their money on account and, roll that over to the next season. And then 2022, it was a lockout, so that was another interesting season. And then really that off season, there was some transition where, Derek resigned, a few others in the leadership group. Just the organizational changes, I got let go, and it really was challenged to think outside the box and think different and work for and with a group of individuals that maybe like at the high level we all want the same thing. We want to sell tickets, but the philosophy in which we go about doing that definitely a little different, and it forced me to think outside the box and also challenge some of the beliefs or best practices that I held on to true throughout my career, to really learn that a lot of those maybe too stubborn to really investigate or test or try something different, allowed me to let go. It's like, I thought this longest time if we did this it would hurt this in the business, but being forced to do something different, you realize like, it actually didn't impact as much as I thought it would. So it allowed me to think differently, be challenged differently, work with, like I said, a different set of people that maybe didn't always see eye to eye on how we're going about the strategy. But I think that's good at times to have that friction and that those discussions to challenge your way of thinking. So 2022 was definitely a big transition year for me. I had mentioned my little brother earlier. Also that year he had passed away in May. So there was a lot that was really going on personally, mentally for me. But really, I had a great support system in the staff. My family's great. My faith, it's always been a rock for me. That was really what I leaned in on, and I learned that one, there's the cliche, life is short, you're not promised tomorrow. Like that really came to life for me and really triggered me to have a different sense of urgency and purpose for what I was doing, and not wasting a day. Like every morning I wake up, my alarm is a picture of me and him, my brother, hugging after he gave his best man speech at my wedding. And those days where I'm like, I don't feel like getting out of bed, I don't know if I want to do this, like I'm just gonna sleep in. I see that picture and I'm like, you're blessed to have another day today. Get your butt up and do what you need to do. So really focus on my morning routine of meditating, working out, journaling, really thinking through the day and like getting things set up before the craziness of my day, where 3 daughters, by 6:30 they're up out and about and ready to go. So that triggered and changed a lot of things for me, just on how I prepare for the day, the things that I focus on, the urgency of which I approach my work with, and really I think helped show success in my leadership style over the next few years. And we saw some success on the business side. When I got to the Marlins in 2020, we were around 10,000 average attendance. My goal was eventually to get to 20,000. At the time I left, this is per game. The time I left, we were around 15. So on that path to get there, But as I shared in a LinkedIn post recently this week, um, tons of things that I learned, a lot of things that I'm appreciative for my time there, and excited about what the future holds from all the things I learned, the relationships I built with my time at the Marlins. And I'll kind of wrap up here of where from all those experience, all those life lessons, like where I see one the sports industry going, but then also just business in general transitioning. And a lot of one question I get asked a lot is, if you could go back and give yourself advice from when you first started, what would it be? The first thing I say is being comfortable in your own skin. Me personally as a leader, I'm definitely different than most sales leaders, and it took me a while to get comfortable in that. And I truly appreciate the group in Houston that I got to work with that accept me for who I am, and over time I was able to see the results. Be where your feet are. I talked about always like, oh, what's next? And I think at times that helped push me and helped me focus to, see what was next throughout my career. But I could have enjoyed the journey a little bit more. And I think the other part is just really locking in and like, all right, this is something that you're going to make a career of. We all love watching, sports, and the amount of work that people put in as an athlete, like you practice 10 times more, if not more than that, than you play. And if you can take that same mindset to business, especially in sales, are you practicing more than you're actually on the phone making calls? Very few of us do it. If anything, we're like, I got this. I don't need to role play. I don't need to practice. And, at times that caused friction with me and my more senior staff over the years, but like I was a big advocate of like, no, we need to practice, we need to get better. For me, it was just that inner drive, like I want to be the best, and if that's going to help us hone our crafts better, we need to make sure we do that. So those are 3 pieces of advice I give myself if I could go back, because I don't think I locked in as much early in my career on training. And also 3 pieces of advice for someone stepping in their career now, and specifically in like sports sales. What does the landscape look like? It's a lot different than when I started in 2007. There's so much more data and insight and collaboration across departments and technology. I really would challenge the more modern sports seller to dive in and understand that. Know your metrics, like what's your average close rate? Who are the people that tell you no? Why do they tell you no? How much is your average revenue per sale? And like you can kind of work backwards off of, all right, I need to make this many sales to hit my goal, and where's that going to come from, instead of just blindly kind of picking up the phone or emailing people. I think that's a part of it. And with all the technology that's out there, a lot of the tasks that you needed maybe more junior people to do, you can automate. There's artificial intelligence, there's other technologies that kind of streamline workflows and processes that you can have your sales team now focus on the things that are really going to drive the business, and that's building relationships, that's speaking with people, that's meeting with people, having conversations, and their outreach being thoughtful and creative, not sending just the same template email to every single person that's in their pipeline, but being thoughtful and really crafting the message, using research, prospecting, using LinkedIn to learn more about their person, to speak specific to that persona. And I'm talking more, I guess, like on the business side, not, hey, we work with businesses, you should buy tickets for your business, but hey, I see that you're market president for a local bank here, and here are some of the challenges I know that someone in that role faces, and here's how we can help you offset that. Like, that's a different conversation than, hey, I see you head up a bank, do you want to do an outing for your team or for your clients? So I think that's another piece of it too, and like really learning like the business side of it, having thoughtful personal conversations. I shared a few weeks ago with my team, like I felt we were leaving a lot of money on the table. I think there's opportunities, and this is more B2C, to really understand the individual that you're talking to. A lot of times we're just very transactional and turnkey, and trying to get that person through the process. I gave myself as an example. I said, I'm a VP of sales, so there's already an opportunity for me to purchase something for my team. There's opportunity to entertain our clients or, purchase something to drive new business with our prospects. I go to a local church. Church could go to our faith and family night. I have 3 daughters that are all inactive in ballet, gymnastics, t-ball. Could do something with all of their leagues. I'm a part of a number of boards, so I have relationships there. And a lot of times we talk to people, we see they bought a ticket, and we're like, all right, you bought a ticket, I want to sell you more tickets. But on the back end of that, you might be talking to, a C-level executive. You might be talking to a director of sales or a CMO that, has business use, but then also has a family and connections locally that they could drive business. And I think if we could take a step back, not being so transactional, and really have a thoughtful conversation, we could have a lot of success. So I'd encourage any sellers out there, specifically in like ticket sales, to take that mindset and take a step back. And then just at the executive level, more leadership level, just working as an integrated team. A lot of times we can get locked into our silos of, this is what sales does, this is what marketing does, this is what your analytics and strategy team does, but really working holistically as a unit and having conversations and having synergy on like, how do we look at the entire business and how we go out to the market with our messaging? At what point do you bring a salesperson into the process? What are they saying in that messaging? Does it align with our marketing messaging to make sure we're not stepping on each other's toes? And talking to the same people about 2 different things. Like, I think there's a huge opportunity there with the data, the technology, all the things I talked about before of hope and opportunity in the sports sales landscape, because I've gotten really obsessed with studying like B2B SaaS and tech companies and like, how do they go to market and how do they sell? And humbly, I was, I found out that we're years behind in sports sales. We're very B2C focused, very, fan focused, emotion, energy, that's what sports is. That's why we all love it. That's why we get into it as a career. But as a business professional, I think there's a ton of opportunity where, we could do more on like that B2B side and really grow from that standpoint, but then also just make sure that we're all aligned as an integrated group and integrated team and build sustainable, efficient growth. I think one of the challenges, for me, or one of the critiques is, I'm very long-term thinking. I think what's sustainable, what's going to build over time, and I think one of my areas to grow is like more in the moment. What are things that we can do to still have that long-term vision, but make more impact in the moment, and maybe pivot for a short time frame to get more short-term results, but also not hurting yourself in the long term of the business. So that's where I think the business sits. That's my path from ticket seller at Arizona State part-time to vice president ticket sales, and as I transition out from the Marlins, really thinking about what I want to do next. Obviously there's a natural skill set leading sports sales teams and an opportunity to go that path, aspirations to look other places. And like I said, I want to document this journey a little bit and share. A lot of people say building in public. One, I'm an open book, so I'm transparent. I want people to see if people are looking or getting a similar path, like you can look at this roadmap and template and potentially use that yourself. But for me, I want to continue to share this, get out of my comfort zone, do this on a regular basis. So I would love to get your feedback, comments, thoughts, anything on this. My strategy or my thought process is to post these regularly on YouTube, but that allows me to break this down into more bite-sized individual pieces that I could post on LinkedIn or other social media channels. And as I look to post each day about something that I think is of value to my network and those within sports, but also just in the business community, I think this is going to be a good engine to kind of fuel a lot of those thoughts and a lot of that content that I put out. So we'll wrap up there. If you stuck with me through all this, thank you. Definitely humbled by that. But if you have any questions, I'll be sure to put where you can reach me on the post here or on YouTube on the video. But this is fun. It was definitely cool reflecting on that journey. I've never really stopped and really thought through that, and then also to the point where I am today, and then also where I'm looking to go in the future. So appreciate everyone. Have a great day.